A man buys a ticket under the name Dan Cooper. He boards a short flight in the Pacific Northwest. He passes a note to a flight attendant, claims to have a device, and makes a series of calm, specific requests. Hours later, somewhere between cities, he leaves the aircraft with a parachute and a bag of cash. No confirmed identity follows. The story becomes a legend. In this episode, we study D.B. Cooper through one lens only, the money trail and the mythmaking that grew around it. We keep the language neutral and avoid graphic detail. We will separate widely reported facts from speculation and focus on what cash can tell us when names do not. Let us sketch the confirmed backbone. A sum of ransom money was provided by the airline at law enforcement direction. The cash was recorded by serial number in advance, a standard practice in ransom cases. After the skyjacking, an extensive search found no obvious landing site or equipment in the expected area, and no verified spending of the marked bills appeared in circulation records for years. Years later, a small portion of the ransom was discovered downstream on a riverbank by a child on a family outing, in a deteriorated condition that sparked debates about how the cash arrived there. These points come from broad public accounts, marked bills, no clear recovery at the time, and a later partial fine that did not close the case. Money leaves traces even when people do not. When cash is recorded by serial number, banks and businesses can check whether notes are part of the ransom set. Law enforcement can scan deposits and report hits. In the Cooper case, this system produced long stretches with no hits, which suggests that the bulk of the cash did not re-enter ordinary circulation in an obvious way. That fact supports multiple possibilities: loss in a remote area, hidden storage that never returned to market, or a conversion path that left few public traces. The later riverbank discovery proved that at least some of the cash moved or was moved after the event, but it did not answer whether the remainder was spent, lost, or destroyed. Why does the money matter so much? Because myths thrive in the absence of cash trails. When there are no bank deposits of marked bills and no retail hits, people fill the gap with candidates and theories. The human mind seeks closure. The story becomes a canvas for projection: a veteran, a local, a drifter, a businessman. Each theory finds echoes in the sparse record. The disciplined move is to keep the focus on what is measured. Where did cash appear? When? In what condition? What known currents, floods, or human actions could account for its movement? Which scenarios fit both the aviation timeline and the riverbank evidence without requiring special pleading? Consider three broad classes of scenarios that have been discussed in public: successful escape with long-term concealment, unsuccessful jump with loss of life and loss of cash to terrain, and partial loss with later handling by an unknown party. In the first class, the absence of serial number hits implies that the person avoided spending the marked bills in normal commerce. That would require either knowledge of how marked bills are detected and a decision to destroy or isolate them, or the use of conversion routes that keep cash outside bank channels. In the second class, the terrain and weather would have defeated survival and scattered or buried evidence, with the riverbank find representing a fraction that was moved by water or erosion over time. In the third class, someone other than the jumper handled part of the cash later, intentionally or accidentally, without entering it into circulation. Each class fits some facts and struggles with others. The riverbank discovery has been a magnet for analysis. Condition, location, depth, and bundling all matter. If bills were found banded together, that could suggest that they were not spread out by water over long distances, or that they were buried together and later exposed. If the paper showed patterns of decay consistent with time in soil rather than constant river flow, that might suggest burial or caching near the site where they were found. If floods were known to have redeposited sediment in that area, that could explain movement without human hands. The point is not to choose a pet theory. It is to show how cache condition and context constrain possibilities. Let us talk about mythmaking. When a case has few hard anchors, personalities and narratives fill the space. A confident storyteller can align memories to the timeline. A photograph can be read generously. Coincidences become signs. Over years, suspects are proposed by writers, relatives, and hobbyists. Some are plausible on one axis and weak on others. Responsible curiosity requires a rule. Do not name private individuals as culprits without official confirmation. Focus on mechanics and on the cash. We can study the case without putting a target on someone who never asked to be part of the legend. The aviation side also creates boundaries. The jump altitude, airspeed, route, weather, available parachutes, and clothing all affect survivability. Professionals have debated these factors in public. A low-altitude, night jump in rough conditions with borrowed gear reduces odds. That does not prove failure. It sets a prior. Cash evidence then updates that prior. If a survivor had both the skill and luck to land safely, we still need a path that keeps marked bills out of circulation for decades. If the jump failed, we need a path that moves a small portion of the cash to the riverbank without any other serial hits elsewhere. Both require careful mechanisms, not just stories. Why do some cases become cultural myths while others fade? Simplicity and ambiguity. The Cooper story has a clean beginning and no tidy ending. It invites the public to participate. It suggests competence and daring. It offers the thrill of a secret identity. That mix is irresistible to media and to the collective imagination. The cost is that certainty becomes a performance rather than a product of evidence. Our job as listeners is to keep admiration for cleverness separate from acceptance of claims that lack measurement. For everyday thinkers, the Cooper case is a classroom. It teaches us to love facts that survive replication: serial number lists, bank logs, forensic analysis of paper and bindings, hydrology studies of a riverbank, weather logs for a flight night. It teaches us to be suspicious of narratives that require unique exceptions. It teaches us to group scenarios and to test each against all the known anchors. It also teaches humility. Some puzzles remain open because nature and human choice leave few footprints. In those cases, the right stance is curiosity without conclusion. Let us summarize what the money says and does not say. It says that at least some of the ransom existed years later in degraded form near a riverbank. It says that ordinary banking channels did not light up with serial number hits in the years immediately after the event. It does not say whether the jumper survived. It does not say who handled the cash between the night of the event and the day of discovery. It does not tell us which theory is true. It tells us where to look: at rivers, at sediment, at human patterns of hiding and forgetting, at the design of searches, and at the incentives that might keep marked cash out of sight. We close with a steady thought. The legend of D.B. Cooper persists because it sits at the intersection of skill, risk, and absence. The money is the least glamorous part of the story and the most important. Follow it, and you avoid turning a mystery into a mirror. Do not be afraid to say we do not know. That sentence leaves room for real discovery if new evidence appears, and it protects real people from being turned into characters for our entertainment. Next time, we turn to the Black Dahlia case as a study in media versus evidence. We will ask what happens when a violent crime becomes a headline factory, and how to separate archival facts from the myths that accrete around a name. Narration generated with AI, facts verified from public sources. No legal advice is given. The purpose is education and public safety. If you have a case tip or a documented pattern to share, use a safe channel and remove personal information that could identify non-public individuals.